When it comes to Marvel Rivals, I'm a pretty casual player. I don't play that much, I have a life, I have a wife and kids, I have a job, but I am Platinum 1 and hopefully Diamond 3 soon. It was the same with Overwatch. I was only a gold player and I played the game very casually, so I try to keep things very simple when I'm ranking up or working on my ranked grinds. I want to pass that information on to you because recently I found that some people are actually stuck in Bronze. I thought Bronze wasn't too bad, but I can't understand as a new player or someone that's inexperienced with this genre why you could have some trouble. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of tips to help you get out of Bronze, and then I'm going to give you some more specific ones for roles. Number 1, dual queue. You need to dual queue in this game to have a good time and to have a much easier time. You can play in a stack, but you must, like minimum, I recommend dual queue. You want someone to have your back, you want someone you can coordinate with and cover different roles, and you want to be flexible with them. It's very effective, it's very powerful, and I've seen it work many times. The next thing is specialize. You want to play your hero, the one that you're maining, as much as you can, whether it be quick play or ranked, but with the implication that you have to be open to swapping. If you aren't carrying the game, if you aren't having a big impact, you're like 1 and 2 or rather like 1 and 5, you're just dying, you're not really getting any picks, it's time to swap. And that leads me to my next point. You have to be open to swapping. You have to be able to discuss that with your teammates as well. If somebody on your team isn't doing that well, in a very friendly way, ask them if they're willing to swap with you. Maybe your role would be better for them and vice versa. If people can work together, it can be a lot easier. You don't have to tell them that they suck or they're mid or DPS diff. You can just simply ask them if they're having trouble and if maybe they would do better on your role. And that leads us on to our next point. You should learn other roles. I did tell you to specialize. I did tell you to try to have a main and play it, but this is not a one trick kind of game. You should learn tank and support. I know every one of you want to play duelist. Everyone wants to be the main character, but I promise you, you're going to thank me if you learn to be just slightly competent with a tank or support, or both preferably. Just one. You only really need one to have a huge impact. And the reason for that is because every single duelist that locks immediately into whatever DPS they pick, and then later on is forced to swap to tank or support, they might not know how to do that at all. And then you find yourself with a tank that would have been a lot more useful just being a mediocre DPS. But if you're the guy that actually knows how to play tank, who actually knows how to play support and covers the role, you could actually have a gigantic impact on your game. I've seen so many games where everyone's just a duelist and then people settle for tank or support and they have no idea what they're doing. Be the difference. If you're new to this genre, play simpler heroes. I know everyone wants to be SpiderMan. Everyone wants to play Black Panther. Everyone wants to play Psylocke. Try simpler characters first. I know you want to specialize in a really cool character, but if you try simpler ones first, or at least have them in your back pocket to swap to when you're having a bad time, you could give yourself a giant advantage in this climb. This is a surprising tip, and it's going to sound weird, but learn how to get carried. Everyone wants to carry. Everyone wants to be the admin. Everyone wants to be the main character. And for some reason, so many gamers throw this fit. They act like total babies if they're not the one doing it. It's a very winnable game, but they're like 1 and 8. They're going to say that the team is bad. But the reality is there might be a star player on your team that is going to be the difference, that is going to win that game for you. Try to do what you can to support them, or at least not make their life difficult. I had a game where my Doctor Strange did not like how things were going. You know what he did? He spammed FF while spamming the actual surrender vote and then said FF or else, teleported into the enemy team and just kept dying. He kept feeding them. He was throwing like this weird little tantrum. Don't be that guy. It's okay if everyone else is doing good and you're not. It's okay to get carried sometimes. It happens. Which leads me to the next point. Don't be toxic. What do you think telling somebody they suck is going to do? What do you think telling the healers they're not healing like in a really negative and aggressive way is going to do for your team? What is it going to do for you? It's going to change their attitude where they don't want to win, where they don't care what happens, where they actually don't want you to see you win. There are people that are petty enough where they will make sure you're not going to win after saying things like that to them. So don't be the guy that's in voice or in the messages typing the whole entire game about how bad your support is. When reality is, it could be a winnable game, but when you change everyone's attitude like that, it's not going to be. Stop focusing on stats, both theirs and yours. This is not a game that is about stats. You are not the star player just because you have ace, just because you have the most kills, just because you have the most damage or healing or whatever. I know it seems that way. I know some of you are going to say I'm crazy, saying that you're not the best player in the lobby because you have ace. But the reality is this is a context game. It's a context heavy game. It's a pick heavy game. It's about picks. This game is valued at how well you use your ultimates and rotate them, who you pick off, and when. That kind of context tells the full story of who's having the most impact on the game. It might be all of you, it might be two of you, it might be one of you. But just because you had a lot of damage padding, a lot of last hits, or you're just spam healing a tank and it's going pretty well, does not mean that you're the one above all, that you get to talk down to everybody. Context matters, but at the same time, don't think about it so much. Don't focus on your stats and think you're terrible and then throw a fit or throw the game or give up, and don't look at your team stats and do the same thing. Stop ulting by yourself. You went in solo and you started to lose a duel and you're gonna die. Don't pop your ult. If you have a really important ult like Agamotto or Luna Snow's ult or Mantis's ult and you get hit and you think you're gonna die, just die. Just die with grace, because you made a mistake and it's not always going to save everyone. In fact, you might have just saved yourself. And then later when you have a team fight, now you don't have that ult. And then you're going to lose the team fight. And then you're going to lose the game. Sometimes it's okay to just die. If you're playing like a DPS like Black Panther and you want to win the duel with that, fine. That is not a game-changing ult. It can be, but it probably isn't compared to Agamotto or Luna's or Mantis or Cloaks. Please stop solo ulting. If your whole team wiped, don't be the guy that just Agamotto's thinking he's going to turn the whole thing around. Pay attention, look around you, your whole team's gone. What is that ult going to do? No one's going to use that ult. It's going to get no value. Next thing is, make sure you're using ping. A lot of people don't ping at all. A lot of information gets swept under the rug. We see a Spider-Man, we see a Black Panther, we see a Star-Lord. Please ping them so we're aware. Pings actually go a long way, I promise. And all you have to do is click that mouse wheel or whatever it is on control. All right, now I'm going to give you guys some tips specifically for your different roles and a couple of hero suggestions. Before I do that, I do want to say a lot of people think that mechanical skill is going to get you out of bronze. It can, and it will, but you don't need it. I promise that bronze rank is not about who has the best aim. It's about who gets like the most kills, who dies less. And that doesn't always come down to aim. Sometimes it just comes down to decision making. That's why most of these tips have been based on decision making and like psychology, right? I didn't mention mechanics once. Now that I said that, I do want to say for duelists, actually practice aiming a little bit. Whether it's playing a lot more quick play on the sides or actually going to the training room, give it a shot. I promise it can go a long way, even if it's just a warm up before you play your games. Stop standing in the front. I see so many DPS when I'm playing tank run up front because I don't know if they're trying to peek and get information or they're going to try to see if they can get a little headshot in there. All that happens is I watch you walk in front of me and die. It makes no sense. As a DPS, when you have 250 health, why would you take the risk of getting shot by Hawkeye and immediately dying? Now we're fighting a 5v6 game. And no, I'm not talking about flankers. I'm not talking about your Black Panthers and Spider-Mans. I'm talking about like Moon Knight, Punisher. Like, what are you guys doing up there? Find a off angle to stand on and wait. Stop going on side quests. Again, if you're not a flanker like Black Panther or something, why are you running behind the enemy team trying to see if that's the angle you can take to try to kill them? And when you do that, stop blaming people, stop asking for heals, ask yourself and really think about it. Why did you die? Was it your fault? Could it have been avoided? The next thing is stop holding on to your ult. A lot of you DPS have very powerful ults, especially like Hela, for example, and it can be the reason we win or lose a fight or even the entire match. Don't hold it. I'm not saying just use it for no reason, but if you think that it's going to turn the tide of a team fight or trigger some other ults to be used like Mantis and Luna, by all means let it rip. The next really big thing for duelists is start targeting the squishy targets, the supports, the DPS. If the tank, the Strange, the Groot are standing in the front, find an off angle to stand off. At least you're going to bring their attention over there so the front line can move forward more. And at the very most, you're going to get a pick. You're going to kill a support. You're going to kill a DPS. It's very effective. I see so many DPS just shooting at the tanks over and over again, and they'll tell me they're building their ult. That's great. But this fight is going to go on forever and ever and ever until we do inevitably lose because their DPS is targeting our supports and DPS. If you're playing DPS, I highly suggest trying out Punisher, Hela, maybe Hawkeye. Start there, and then you can branch out to the really cool options like Spider-Man. I promise you that all of these heroes are both very effective, very simple and easy to get value out of, and they can be fun. And I'm not saying you can't play something like Panther or Spider-Man, but the thing is with these kinds of melee DPS heroes, they require a lot of mechanical skill for one. For two, they have to work very hard to get value. Like they have to play a crazy good game. to get their value and be effective. And to do that, you have to have mechanical skill. But if you're going back there and just touching them and then leaving and then dying, not only are you not accomplishing anything, but you're making us play a 5v6 or 4v6 game the whole time for no reason. So please at least learn one of the simpler heroes to play on the side when the flank DPS is not working. All right, moving on to Vanguard, my role. This is what I mostly play. This is like 90% of my games. And all I want to say to you guys in bronze, trust your healers. Not too much, but do trust them a bit. You have to press W. I know it's scary. You got WASD or you got the up on the analog stick, but I promise you that pressing W or up on the analog stick is not only secretly cracked tech, but it can win you way more games. This is a game of tug of war with the other tank. And if you're just getting pulled on and you're not doing anything, you're going to die in the choke, or they're going to press back to your back line and kill them. Press them, scare them. That's how you make space. Everyone says make space and they don't explain what that means. What you do is you threaten them. I'm not going to get into the whole thing about making space, but the number one thing you can do at bronze rank, at least, scare them. Threaten them. That's how you make space. You see some kind of DPS pressing up a little bit or a support, they're a little bit out in the open, start hitting them. You can kill them. You can probably actually kill them, and now you're going to win the team fight. And if you don't kill them, guess what? People get scared and they back off or they blow ults. So you're either going to make space or you're going to make them waste a really important ultimate that's going to make it so they can't win the next team fight. And the last thing I want to say to you guys is watch your back line at least a little bit. Every now and then, turn around, see what's happening. Sometimes people don't voice, sometimes they don't ping. But looking around real quick and seeing if somebody needs a little bit of help can not only save them and save you from losing a team fight, but you might actually get a pick for that, and you might win the next team fight. For my hero suggestions, I'm going to suggest Doctor Strange, Magneto, and Groot. And Penny, if you're on defense, if you're holding a point, Penny can be very effective. Hydra, like stage 3 or whatever it's called, like when you're holding that point that goes up and down, that might be 1 or 2, I don't remember, but Groot, Penny is diabolical. You're building all these walls, making it hard for them to get in, then they get in and there's SpiderMan. If you try to flank, there's SpiderMans. Penny is such a good defense hero, but only when you're like playing like King of the Hill, holding a point. She can be good in other contexts, but that's where she's really shining in my opinion. Other than that, stick with Strange, Magneto, and Groot. Alright, Strategist, bless you for even playing Strategist in Bronze, but I do have a couple of tips for you. Stop trying to DPS all the time. I've seen it so many times that I died or someone else died and I look at my Luna Snow and she's shooting at the enemy team players while I'm rotting away next to them. Stop doing that. Look around, see who's getting like a little bit low on health. Not even low. When they're like 60, 70%, start healing everybody. It's not like you run out of heals unless you're playing Adam Warlock, then you play a little differently, but for the most part, you can keep people around 70% and they're pretty safe. The next thing is use your ult to win, not just live. Sometimes you gotta save people, sometimes you have to save yourself or you're gonna lose, but sometimes it's better to just press your advantage. You get a pick, get active, pop that Luna ult, pop that Mantis ult, wipe the rest of their team. If you get a pick on, let's say, one of their supports, you pop your ult, you all push forward, you're going to win duel, or you're gonna trigger some other ults, but ultimately you're gonna win because it's 5v6, or you're gonna stagger them possibly. Please do not ult when somebody touches you once. I've seen so many times that a Cloak or a Luna or a Mantis immediately pops ult the second they get hit or pressed at all or see somebody else get hit. It's not that serious. People can die sometimes. There are stages during the match where somebody dying is okay, you can hold it long enough. Ideally, you don't want them to die, but even more ideally, you don't want to pop your ult because that just guarantees you're going to lose right after. Alright, my hero suggestions are Luna, Mantis, and Cloak and Dagger. Yeah, you can play whoever you want, but these are the easiest ones to get a ton of value out of. Their ult are absolutely broken. I swear these heroes ult every 1 minute. It's ridiculous. I know Adam Warlock's ult is clutch, it's cool, but man, I promise you these ults are just way more effective in like most contexts. I did give you guys some hero suggestions. You don't have to take them. You can play the really hard things for you, but it is going to make it a little bit harder for you to rank up, whether it's playing Loki or Black Panther or something more difficult like that, or honestly just playing things that are just suboptimal or don't get value as easily or don't get value in every single context. The ones that I suggest are really good no matter the context, no matter whether you're defending or or attacking or moving a payload, capping a point, if you're in a losing matchup, if you're in a winning one. All of these heroes are going to be good. They're just solid all around. Most of the tips I gave you is being flexible, playing your role a little bit better, and having better like mental when it comes to dealing with your teammates, talking to them. None of this was really about how to get good. It was just an attitude change and some adjustments to what you're capable of. Be a little more flexible. That's all you got to do to get out of bronze, man. If you play tank or support, that's the easiest way. I promise. I promise. On alt accounts, playing tank, crushing lobbies, it's fun. I like playing tank, but it's also way easier. Anyways, guys, like always, I am transparent. Give this video a like, leave some comments, subscribe if you want more content like this. Lots of comments. I want the algorithm to pick this one up. You guys have a good day. Get that silver rank, get that gold rank, get that Moon Knight skin.